Hello, welcome to the garage. I'm Fast Rod, and in this video, we're going to be talking about car designs. I must say this right away. I actually intended to make this a rather quick video. Just talk briefly about the designs starting in the 50s, going to the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way into the current day. However, unfortunately, that uh, came and went, and uh, I quickly realized that I was not going to be able to do that. Uh, and instead, I will be breaking this particular topic down into separate videos. Um, Now, with that said, unfortunately, I would love for them to be successive videos. But truth of the matter is they likely won't be. They'll likely be videos um, kind of with other videos in between. They will not be consecutive videos. Um, the first that I will be publishing is going to go ahead and be about Chrysler. Um, and to quickly give an explanation why I'm going to be doing that. First off, is going to be because of the number of automakers. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about three automakers: um, Chrysler, Ford, and General Motors. Um, and due to that, kind of intertwined with that particular topic, there's a lot of information about their designs going throughout the decades. There are so many people involved, people coming in, going out, individuals being hired and fired um, throughout the decades. So, unfortunately, that is going to be a bit of an issue to that extent. Because there is so much information, unfortunately, that also means that the video, if I tried to pull that video off in a single video, would be something like a 2 hour, 3 hour long video. And I really don't feel like sitting down and having a very extensive discussion on the topic for that long. And I'm sure not many people would be interested in that either. Um, when I do present this information, I will be doing my best to keeping it short, keeping it simple, um, you know, try to give some of the major points of it. But yeah, to that extent, um, in this particular video, I will at least try to briefly give what was supposed to be the original idea. And the original idea that I had was for me to talk about, oh, cars from the late 40s, when after World War II and stuff like that. And then, cars went into the 50s, that's when we started getting fins, a lot of chrome and stuff like that. Going into the 60s, the 60s started out with some of the 1950s style with a lot of fins, with a lot of chrome. And then, you had the horsepower race kind of starting in the 50s, but really would go into the 60s, and you had the Coke bottle design of the Mustang, the Camaro, the Charger, the Challenger at the very end, crossing into the 70s. Um, and then you go into the 70s. It started out with the horsepower race and the muscle car era, and then leading, kind of breaking down, leading into the 80s. That's when auto manufacturers kind of abandoned that. They went into the whole boxy look. Um, you know, and cars got, the aero look, but a very squared off aero look. And then going into the 90s, they took that same concept, but they started to kind of smooth over the sharp edges, and they started making these really blob-like cars going into the early 2000s, having a minor amount of retro movement alongside that styling, leading into the current day, with a lot of rounded but sharp edge, designs and stuff like that. Well, unfortunately, that was the original idea. However, then, as I said before, it quickly spun out of control, and I realized just how large of a topic it actually is. Um, and I intended to cover this because I wanted to cover this topic, kind of glide it by, and actually get into the vehicles in Fallout 4 and pretty much the Fallout franchise, really. Um, so I could actually take an in-depth and technical look into these cars, into the different aspects that make these cars, chassis, drivetrain, stuff like that. But like I said, that sadly did not happen. It is not that feasible. Um, so, with all that said, um, this is a bit of a brief video, just because, I just wanted to put that out. On top of that, um, I'm going to be taking a page from another YouTube channel and adding uh, a corrections section, and that is that throughout my research, I have learned some more information, gotten some more context and stuff, and it turns out that in my previous videos, I mentioned Chrysler as being Fiat Chrysler, particularly around the time when it went into bankruptcy, and even got the actual date wrong. I kept saying 2008. I recall it being around that time, but it actually turns out it was actually around 2009, actually a year after all my mentions. And also, it actually wasn't Fiat Chrysler. It was actually under the corporate name of Daimler Chrysler. It was actually Mercedes-Benz and Chrysler Corporation joint together. Um, yeah, as it turns out, that's actually the truth here. Um, and on top of that, another thing I've learned through all my various research is that um, actually, I'm sorry. Another question I meant to answer is that why I am not covering other auto manufacturers such as Volkswagen and the Volkswagen Group, Porsches. Why I'm not mentioning any uh, auto manufacturers outside of the U.S. To put simply, it would spin things way out of proportion, far more than anything I can research and cover on my own. Um, so unfortunately, due to that, while I would love to take a look at what those brands outside the U.S. were doing around the 40s to 60s time period, it's not very possible. Um, so unfortunately, I have to cut out a lot of stuff I come across. I unfortunately do have to cut it out. With that said, because I have to cut a lot of that stuff out, I unfortunately am gonna be forced also to cut out even American brands that are within the continental United States, such as one of the ones I mentioned being American Motors, AMC. I unfortunately have to cut them out. It's unfortunate, but as I said, I'm only one person. I really can only cover so much content, and I really do have my hands full just trying to get information and cover stuff about um, General Motors, Ford Motor Company, and Chrysler Corporation. It's already a handful, and to kind of throw American Motors and other smaller, independent ones like Kaiser and stuff like that, it would get quite out of control uh, pretty quickly. So, with all that said, uh, thank you very much for listening. Ramble on a little bit. I know this isn't much of an informational video this time around, but still, thank you very much for being here, for listening, and I hope to see everyone in the next video.